Ben Christenson was raised Anglican through and through, church every Sunday, a religious school, and Christian camp every summer. But Christenson, 27 of Fairfax, Virginia, always found himself longing for a more traditional faith. The hard thing about growing up in my church is that there was a lot of change even in my lifetime, he told the Post. I realized that there really was no way to stop the change. He watched as traditions went to the wayside, the robed choir was swapped out for a worship band, lines were blurred on female ordination, and long-held stances on LGBT issues shifted. All of that stuff was basically fungible, which gave me a sense that the theological commitments are kind of fungible, too, he said. So Christenson began exploring other denominations in college and landed on perhaps the most traditional of all, Orthodox Christianity. In 2022, at the age of 25, he converted. It seems to me like the mainline denominations are hemorrhaging people, he said. If you still are serious about being a Christian now that there isn't really as much social status tied up in it, and you want something that has some heft to it, there's more of an awareness of orthodoxy than there used to be. Christenson, who works as a fundraiser for nonprofits, attends St. Mary's Orthodox Church in Falls Church, Virginia. Conversion means that he now must frequently attend confession, pray prescribed prayers, and endure extreme fasting, sometimes over 40-day stretches. Weekly services are also highly ritualized and regimented, and can last up to 2 hours. Trenham's church has 1,000 active participants, and, although recent converts in his congregation have been split roughly evenly between men and women, he agrees most Orthodox churches around the country are gaining far more men. The feminization of non-Orthodox forms of Christianity in America has been in high gear for decades, Trenham explained. He points to the fact the vast majority of attendees at most Christian churches are female, and many services are accordingly dominated by emotional songs, swaying, uplifted hands, and eyes closed in ecstasy. Men are much less comfortable in those settings, and they have voted with their feet, which is why they're minorities in these forms of worship, he said. Our worship forms are very traditional and very masculine. Feminized worship is exactly what pushed Elijah Wayside, a 17-year-old from Toronto, to explore orthodoxy. Christianity in North America has become extremely emotional, Wayside, who was raised evangelical, told the Post. Going to evangelical worship services, I found it to be like emotionally driven rock concerts, with the lifting up of the hands. The 12th grader says he was attracted to orthodoxy because it is more traditional and masculine. He especially appreciates the challenge and the discipline required to adhere to intense prayer and intense fasting. The thing that really appealed to me about orthodoxy is how static it was and how steadfast it is, he said. I generally do prefer something that is more traditional and really has that ancient feel to it. Zachary Porcu, 36, is a catechist at Trenham's church, meaning he helps teach incoming members about the faith. He says there's currently more than 100 people in classes waiting to be baptized, and that there's always a little clique of young men among them. Psychologist and author Jordan Peterson, who has developed a massive following among young men, told the Post he's noticed a growing number of Gen Z boys like Elijah trending towards orthodoxy, in part, he theorizes, because tradition makes it unquestionable. Unlike a Protestant service, which is much more dependent on the preacher, you can't criticize an Orthodox service. It's like going to a ballet and saying, like, what's going on here? Well, that's a stupid question, Peterson told the Post. Bailey Mullins, 26, grew up Baptist in South Carolina. He began to have questions about religion in high school and college, when he noticed many mainline denominations were getting co-opted by politics, fracturing into conservative and liberal branches, and getting distracted by cultural debates like LGBTQ issues. A religion course with a professor who was an Orthodox Christian inspired him to attend his first liturgy at age 21. He converted 2 years later. I wanted to be somewhere that was stable and that wasn't going to change, he told the Post. It felt very ancient, and that was not something I'd experienced elsewhere. Mullins, a graphic designer, now lives in Alexandria, Tennessee. He says more young men are finding orthodoxy because the religion is, in and of itself, masculine. One might say orthodoxy itself is more masculine, especially when compared to the more feminized forms of Christianity that exist today, where the emphasis is on emotional experience, feeling good, and appealing to the self, he said. Orthodoxy isn't about us, it's about God, and I think young people today can intuitively sense that out. We know when we're being pandered to.